Greetings and welcome to episode 23 of Unlocking the Matrix. And I thought I'd go back over words and letters and try and explain a few more of the patterns that I've noticed. Now, one that comes up a lot is the letters A and B together, as in abnormal, aboriginal, which is a bit of a horrible insult really to call them non-original, the Australian tribal people. It's not a word I like, but you'll find the AB seems to come up a lot. It's in Abraham, as in cerebram, the Sarah Abraham. Now, another one that comes up is DE, which seems to indicate a deity. It's tied in a lot with that one. I wish I'd have actually planned this out a little better to give you more examples. Another interesting one which came out from a couple of words I saw is giant exterminators. Now, the GI seems to be a reference to Gaia, the old name of Earth. So it begs the question of what is a giant? Is it an ant of Earth? Are we the ants? And then exterminators. So at the start, discount the E, because the E seems to indicate energy, and then you've got the X, which is a cross. Now there's several ways of reading this. You've got term, so we could say term as in a fixed period of time. There's also TER, which seems to indicate terra, as in earth, as in terra firma. And you've also got exterminate, so that's bringing something to an end, to terminate something. And then you've got tors on the end. Now tor or door, the D and the T seem to be interchangeable, same as in German. Seems to be where we've got a lot of our words from. Now, three really big ones, all prefixed with an E, which is partly because of the way they're pronounced, is L, M and N. L, I'm sure you're familiar with, is L, another name for Saturn, or the Elohim. The M is like empowerment. So EM is the reverse of me, which is something I've mentioned before. It's something we've all got inside us. The me seems to be the name of the soul, or like your hard drive with your personality and everything within it. And then N, EN, it's the E is the energy. The N seems to indicate a lord. I mean, there's a house full of them in London. Not one of them I would trust any further than I could, well, wouldn't even bother, unless there's a skip to throw them in. Now, other interesting letters not found in Latin or Greek is the letter J. Now, if you look at that one, that's very much like a hook on the end of a fishing line, and hence you've got Jesus, the fisher of men. Another very interesting one, very similar to that, is T, the letter T. Now, I'm going to suggest the upright of that is representing at the pole or the soul within us, and then it's got a line capping across the top of it. Now, the significance of this, if you think of NASA, it's speculated that that red flash is a letter T, or a serpent's tongue, and obviously the letter T comes right in the middle of a word like Satan. It's also in Saturn and so on. So there's a few words there that are worth just looking at. And a very interesting one with this breakdown of words. I mean, knowledge. What is knowledge? If you imagine yourself, because it depends how you spell these words as to what you're hearing. But if you listen to the sound rather than focus on the spelling, because it is a spell that's put on these words, This is the language of darkness that we're speaking, unfortunately. The English is the angel leash, the angle leash. So knowledge is no ledge. So we're walking on this very narrow path, and it's losing fear of falling off the edge. Which brings me very neatly to another point. People often ask about things like fallen angels or fallen angles. Well, when you consider, and I've got this sticker on the back of my car. It's a Saxon word. It means English and proud, and it's spelled as Angelkin Murdignes, dignified angelkin, basically. So related to angels, and this seems very much tied in with this destruction of this Tartarian worldwide empire, this so-called Greco-Roman style of buildings that you'll see pretty much all around the world, or has been all around the world if they haven't destroyed them. This seems to be what the destruction of Dresden seems to be about as well. It's to get rid of the glaring architecture that flies in the face of the official narrative of history. It's almost like a wipeout of we are basically the kin of angels. I said on the previous video about that we are not human at all. It's the dark side that are the Who men. A reference to this, I would say, is look at the Dracula films. Why can't this Prince of Darkness see himself in the mirror? Why has he no reflection? I would suggest because his true self is so hideous, even to himself. And this is why I think you'll find that demons they can use mirrors, but they don't like things being reflected back to them, such as light, for some reason. I can't think why. That's so. I've lost my train of thought now. Yeah, so there's a few things there to just mull over and go through. The other name that comes up a lot is Ra. As in Amun Ra. Now it can be the letter R, it can be R-A. Now this is the thing with these phony Phoenician phonetics. They have a habit of fouling the words with the vowels. They might put two O's in, or knock one of the O's off, or knock a letter off. And a star is now known as a star, but you notice it's astrology with an A at the front. I've mentioned before about the A being like a pyramid structure. You've got the line, so you've got the hierarchical top section and then the rest of it below, replicating basically a pyramid. And pyramid structures of pretty much everything you come across in this 3D world, whether it be a business, you'll have your board of directors, the few, and then you come down to the shop floor where you've got the masses of workers. But obviously it's only the ones at the top that know what's going on, and this is replicated through everything. It would be ridiculous to think that every bank clerk, for example, every cashier is part of this banking dynasty. They're just earning a living, and they are just the conscripts. Same as in the churches, the ministers are ordained because they are the ordinaries. Anything below them is the conscripts, the people who are being conned by this script. So fallen angels, how many are there? Well, current world population is said to be about 7.5 billion. Well, that's how many fallen angels you've got, because it's people who are falling for an angle. They are without compass. They do not see things. They do not see the centre point. They are being distracted with the north, east, west and south, which you all know on the media as the news, because they're trying to get you to look everywhere except where you should be looking. Now, I suggested that the sun is just a reflection, and the actual source of the power is actually coming from Earth, same as a baby's mobile or child's mobile, where it projects this image on the ceiling. But the source is coming from within. And is that not always the case with anything spiritual? The answers are always within each and every one of us. this is where we are the fallen angels, the falling angels, because we're told we're unworthy, we're not good enough, we're not going to achieve this ascension, we can't heave things up. But in spirituality, it's the opposite. They will tell you about bringing things up to our level. We're already there. We're not the ones that are actually going on a journey, and certainly not physically. The only journey you need to do is go within in yourself with all of these things. It's always played by the dark side as a reverse, an opposite, because they don't have the power of creation or the imagination to come up with anything new. All they can do is take an existing idea and then superimpose a twist or two twists on these things. So you end up with these very confused stories. Because they don't want you to find the truth. They have to tell you the truth, but they do it in such a deceptive way, which is why they put these things out in films. That's one of the biggest things people ask. Why is it showing this in Men in Black or in The Wizard of Oz or Star Trek, Star Wars? I can't even think of the names of the other films. There's been so many that do. Monsters Inc. comes to mind, Bugs Life, all the Disney Pixars are telling you. I mean, Disney is deny. I mean, it's right there. So Walt Disney World is deny. They're denying the world the truth by giving you a very deceptive cartoon, comic image of things. Calling ourselves humanity, we are Donald Duck. We're out for a duck, basically. We count for nothing, and it is comedy. It means come die. It's sadistic laughter at us, and people are being entertained by it because you're allowing something to enter and tain. I mean, there's so many words that are prefixed, like tain. You can be contained, you can be retained. I mean, there's the RE or the RA again coming up. Ject is another good one. You can be dejected, injected, or rejected. It's indira. Prefixes to these sort of root words in this English language. It's something I need to put together. I'm just doing this off the top of my head. It's sort of just a very quick video idea I was putting together, and it sort of expanded, so I'm just going with the thought. So I apologise if it seems to be all over the place. We're trying to stick back to this language. 26 letters, double 13 in the alphabet, because it is a gamble. And all these words have more than one meaning. You'll soon find this terminology. I mean, everything is based on a death cult in this world. You have corporations. I mean, corpse, it's pretty obvious it's a dead body. A mortgage, it comes from the French. Mort means death. You earn a living, and that's if you worked to death, you end up in an urn if you're cremated. There's so many words. You can be terminally ill. Notice also the electrical terms and also the water terms, because we are vessels. We have cells. Also note a battery has cells. If you happen to be rushed into hospital because your heart stopped when they say stand back charging 200 volts, they're called paddles. And you go into a hospital when you're born, you come out of a birthing canal in a hospital bay. You go to a court, you end up in the dock. All these terms, you're a vessel containing water, but you're also on a sea. This is what maritime or admiralty law is all about. Now notice as well, it's British Admiralty Law, BAL, Baal, Bell, Baal, another name for a devil again. It's you. Hopefully you can see the pattern where all this is going. So when you may get a word, just a word will stand out to you, and just look at it and say it over in your mind and think how many other ways you can spell it and what the other meanings of these words are, and this pattern will start to become a lot clearer. It's worth looking into so many different things. I've mentioned before about Star Trek and Captain Kirk. Well, Kirk is the Scottish word for church. It comes from the origin of it is a goddess called Circe, I believe, in Greece, who would lure people into a room and lock the door and then corrupt their minds. Exactly what religions do. And you'll notice on the Star Trek you have to boldly go where no man has been before. That's because nobody has been there, because it's all fiction. It's just another fish story. I mean, people want to know where space is. It's between your two temples. They try and fill it. They fill your mind with a load of crap. This is what the media is all about. It's not journalism. It's not honest reporting. It's to keep you distracted. And there's plenty of it about. I spend more time on social media just scrolling past a lot of the things, because it's like, oh dear, are they really falling for that and picking a side on these things? It's seeing beyond this. It's a case of stand back. Don't be on the edge and reacting to things. That's exactly what they want you to do. Notice react. You're acting, but it's got RE again on the front. So that's another one to look for. All these words have got so many clues. So I'm going to finish it there, because there's a lot in these 16 minutes I've been talking, and I didn't sort of plan this at all. It just flows. It's the easiest way. I don't commit to paper, because paper is a dead tree, so I try and avoid writing anything down. I try and keep the mind, because it keeps a clear channel open for the information to come through. It's the spiritual equivalent of the Google Cloud. You haven't got to retain all this information in your head. That's intellect, and you'll notice in intellect, you've got L right in the middle of that. The devil is always in the detail, is the saying. So there you go. There's quite a lot there. I'll leave that one with you, and have a lovely day, and I'll speak to you again soon. Thank you.